The story begins on a dark, stormy night. A young woman named Natalia rushes to a hospital with her mother. Natalia is heavily pregnant, and her condition is critical. But luck is not on her side. When they reach the hospital, they discover that no doctors are available. The entire building is nearly empty. There is only one nurse on duty. Natalia's labor pains grow stronger, and it becomes clear that the baby could be born at any moment. With no other option left, the nurse decides to deliver the baby herself. When the child is finally born, something terrifying happens. Natalia, her mother, and the nurse freeze in fear. The newborn begins floating in the air. The baby is lighter than a balloon. Gravity has no effect on it. At that moment, Natalia and her mother realize the truth. This is not a normal child. This baby is something extraordinary. Fearing what might happen if others find out, they try to quietly leave the hospital without telling anyone. Later that night, back at home, Natalia's mother warns her seriously. If scientists ever find out about this child, they will take the baby away and perform experiments on it. Then she asks an important question. Who is the father of this child? Natalia gives a very strange answer. She says she doesn't know who the father is. This raises even more questions and hints at a mysterious past. In the end, they make a firm decision. This child will never leave the house. They choose to hide the baby from the world and begin raising it in complete secrecy. Whenever Oscar's mother and grandmother are not around, the child slowly floats up toward the ceiling and sometimes even reaches the roof of the house. Bringing him back down is never easy. Oscar's grandmother has to struggle a lot to pull him back safely. The ceiling is extremely hard, and if Oscar hits it, he could get seriously injured. Fearing this, his grandmother comes up with a solution. She covers the ceiling with soft cushions, placing them carefully across the roof so that if Oscar ever floats upward, he won't get hurt. As time passes, life continues this way. Oscar's mother and grandmother never take him outside. They are terrified that if he starts floating in the open sky, they may never know how high he could go or if they would ever be able to bring him back. From inside the house, Oscar often watches other children going to school and playing outside. Deep inside, he wishes he could play with them and live a normal life, but he is never allowed to leave the house. His grandmother becomes his teacher. She teaches him everything at home and loves him deeply, treating him with great care and affection. Oscar grows up completely indoors. His only connection to the outside world is television. He spends hours watching superhero movies, especially stories about Superman. Every time Oscar sees Superman flying across the sky, he begins to believe that he too is powerful, that maybe he is just like Superman. One day, Oscar finally asks his mother, "Why don't you ever let me go outside?" But his mother doesn't answer. She stays silent. Every day, Oscar stands near the window, watching other children walk to school and play freely. Deep inside, he wishes he could live a life of freedom, just like them. One day, he makes a bold decision. He decides to go outside through the window. Just as he is about to climb out, his grandmother sees him. She immediately stops him and says firmly, "You cannot go outside." In her anger and fear, she completely seals the window shut. Seeing this, Oscar becomes heartbroken and deeply sad. Later, his mother notices his pain and says something unexpected. "Oscar, you can't stay inside this house forever." She then hides heavy weights inside his clothes so he won't float into the air. For the first time in his life, Oscar's mother takes him outside. While his mother goes into a shop, Oscar waits outside. Suddenly, a girl bumps into him and her things fall to the ground. Her name is Agata. Annoyed, Agata says, "You dropped my stuff. Now you'll have to carry these water bottles to my house." She hands him 2 large water bottles. Oscar tries to refuse. His mother has strictly warned him not to go anywhere, but Agata insists, and Oscar hesitates, then finally agrees to go with her. Because of the hidden weights in his pockets, Oscar feels extremely tired. Unable to handle it, he removes the weights. Now, with the heavy bottles in his hands, he doesn't float anymore. For the first time, Oscar is outside walking like a normal child. Soon they reach Agata's house. She asks Oscar to give her back the water bottles, but Oscar clearly refuses. He knows that the moment he lets go of the bottles, he will start floating into the air. Agata suddenly snatches the bottles from his hands. Instantly, Oscar begins to rise. However, a nearby building blocks his way, and he bumps into it, stopping midair. Agata stares at him in shock and excitement. "Wait, you're a superhero," she says in amazement. To help him come back down, Agata hands Oscar her school bag. As soon as he holds it, his weight pulls him safely back to the ground. From that moment on, a strong friendship begins between Oscar and Agata. Oscar makes her promise, "You must never tell anyone about my secret." Agata smiles and says, "I promise." Meanwhile, Oscar's mother is shown searching for him, filled with fears. She and the grandmother begin to believe that Oscar may have floated away into the sky. Just then, Oscar returns home carrying Agata's school bag. His mother immediately asks, "Whose bag is that?" Oscar replies, "I made a friend. Her name is Agata." Worried, his mother asks, "Did you tell her your secret?" Oscar answers, "No, but the truth is, he lies." As days pass, Oscar and Agata's friendship grows deeper. Agata starts visiting Oscar's house regularly, and they spend their time playing together. One day while they were playing, Agata casually asks Oscar about his ability to fly. Oscar's mother overhears the conversation. At that moment, she realizes the truth Oscar has shared his secret. Angrily and fearfully, she turns to Agata and says, "You must leave this house, now." The very next day, Agata comes again to meet Oscar. But this time, Oscar's mother coldly tells her, Oscar is not at home. Agata doesn't give up. She returns again and again, hoping to see him. But every time, Oscar's mother refuses to let her meet him. Slowly, the neighbors begin to notice something strange. They start whispering among themselves and grow suspicious. To them, it looks like Oscar's mother and grandmother have locked him inside the house. They never send him to school. They never let him play outside. Eventually, the neighbors file a complaint with the police. Soon, police officers arrive at the house and question Oscar directly. Oscar calmly tells them, "My mom and my grandmother love me very much." Before leaving, the police give a strict warning: if your son doesn't go to school starting tomorrow, we will return and you will be arrested. With no other choice left, Oscar's mother is forced to take him to school. But as they walk through the school corridor, she notices something alarming. All the children have their school bags hanging outside the classrooms. That means Oscar won't be able to keep his bag with him all the time. She suddenly realizes the truth. If Oscar removes his bag and the hidden weights from his pockets, he will start floating. At that moment, she understands that the Oscar can never live a normal life. Heartbroken and terrified, Natalia takes Oscar back home instead of leaving him at school. Later, Natalia's mother looks at her and says softly, "Our child will never be an ordinary child." Hearing this, tears fill the eyes of both Natalia and her mother. They finally accept the painful truth: Oscar's life will never be normal. After everything that happens, they make a final decision to leave the city forever. They move far away to a lonely, frozen land, a place so isolated that no one could ever discover Oscar's secret. Years slowly pass. Oscar grows up. His grandmother eventually passes away, leaving him alone with his mother in that cold, silent world of snow and ice. Oscar's mother takes great care of him, protecting him every moment, and Oscar loves his mother deeply. But after spending so many years trapped inside the house, Oscar becomes lonely, frustrated, and sad. Even now, he still keeps Agata's school bag, the same bag she once gave him when they were children. He never lets it go. He misses her every single day. Oscar spends most of his time reading Superman stories and comics. Deep inside, he begins to believe that if the world ever discovers his secret, he could become famous, just like Superman. But every time Oscar talks about revealing the truth to the world, his mother refuses immediately. She believes that if people find out, they will take her son away forever. For years, Oscar controls himself, but one day his patience finally breaks. Without telling his mother, Oscar steps outside the house on his own, and for the first time, he chooses freedom over fear. Even today, Oscar still carries the same bag Agata gave him in childhood. With that bag on his shoulder, he walks straight into a talent show. Under the excuse of performing a magic act, Oscar tells the audience, "I can fly." No one believes him. People laugh. Some think it's just another trick. But the moment Oscar puts his bag down, something unbelievable happens. He slowly rises into the air. The entire audience is left speechless. That night, the show becomes wildly popular. Videos of Oscar spread everywhere. At home, Oscar's mother watches the show on television. Seeing this, she breaks down in fear and worry. But Oscar has already made his choice. Now she can't stop him anymore. The next morning, a man named David comes to meet Oscar. He is an event organizer. David tells him, "We can do huge shows all over the world. You'll make a lot of money and you'll become incredibly famous." Ever since childhood, Oscar had dreamed of being famous like Superman. Without hesitation, he signs the contract with David. Soon, Oscar starts performing in big shows and even appears in advertisements. His fame explodes. Money is no longer a problem. The world gives him a new name: the man without gravity. After his talent is revealed, Oscar becomes the center of attention everywhere. Everyone talks about him. But slowly something changes. Despite all the fame and success, Oscar begins to feel bored and empty. Deep inside, he realizes the truth: he never wanted to be just a performer. Since childhood, he wanted to be a hero just like Superman. But now Oscar realizes the truth: he is not a hero. He has become a clown, someone who only entertains people for their amusement. This is never the life he wanted. Soon, several documentaries are made about him. In those films, Oscar's mother and grandmother are shown in a negative light, as if they were villains who locked him away. This deeply hurts Oscar because his grandmother loved him more than anything in the world, and his mother still loves him just as deeply. Oscar becomes completely frustrated and broken by this life. During one show, he is forced to wear an angel costume. Standing on stage, something inside him finally snaps. He shouts in front of everyone, "I am not an angel. I am just a normal human being." That moment changes everything. Oscar decides he has had enough. He tells David clearly, "I'm done. I will never do this again." David tries to convince him, reminding him of the fame and money, but Oscar refuses to listen. He makes a final decision to walk away from David, the shows, and everyone who knows his truth. Worried, David asks, "What will we tell the world?" Oscar replies calmly, "Tell them I flew away or that I'm dead." And with that, Oscar leaves everything behind: his fame, his past, and even his identity to live a different kind of life. The next next day, the news breaks. Oscar is dead. In reality, the world just needed an answer, any answer, and Oscar finally becomes free. Just as Oscar had said, David tells the news exactly that way. The media announces that Oscar is dead. Reporters gather outside Oscar's house asking endless questions. But Oscar's mother refuses to answer even a single one of them. She remains silent. Years pass. One day, Oscar's mother also passes away. But Oscar is still alive. To hide his secret from the world forever, he completely changes his identity. He pretends to be disabled, always sitting in a wheelchair. He grows a long beard, wears a cap, and keeps his head down. He now works as a hotel receptionist, living a quiet, invisible life. Yet even now, Oscar still keeps Agata's bag, the same bag she gave him in childhood. He never lets it go. He still thinks about her. One day, a young woman arrives at the hotel. The moment she notices the bag in Oscar's hands, she freezes in shock, because that woman is Agata. Agata's life has changed completely. Forced by harsh circumstances, she chose a wrong path just to survive. That's why she often comes to the hotel with different men. She recognizes Oscar instantly. Once again, Oscar and Agata come face to face. Agata has seen too much pain and suffering in life. Her heart has grown cold, and her emotions seem almost dead. But Oscar still loves her. One day, he finally confesses his love to her. At first, Agata doesn't take his words seriously. Maybe her life no longer has space for love. But as they continue to meet, Agata slowly realizes the truth deep inside her heart. She still has feelings for Oscar. Soon, they decide to get married. After the wedding, they return to the same old house where Oscar once lived with his mother and grandmother. And this time, Oscar and Agata begin a peaceful and happy life together. With that, the story in the film comes to an end. If this story kept you hooked till the end, hit the subscribe button, because the next story will be even crazier.